Okay guys, welcome to my channel. It's been a long time since I've uploaded a video. Apologise for that. Just been busy doing other things. But I'm back. This is my turbo metaltron, the true Draco. I hope you really like it. It's quite interesting, quite fun as well. Been deck testing it for a while now, having an absolute blast. And I hope you actually like it. So, first card off the line, obviously, two metaltron. Got to play him, got to see him, got to get into him. The deck is extremely consistent. Your end field will basically look like him with anywhere between 5 and 2 back row. So, it's absolutely amazing. His effect is, if he's destroyed, either by battle or card effect by your opponent, you can special summon any monster from your extra deck as long as it's not a light or a dark monster. So it just allows you to play a whole extra deck in a deck that normally doesn't use one at all. So the next monster lineup is Majesty's Maiden. You basically just search for Ignis Heat or Miriam, or even your Metatron during your opponent's turn, so you can get the tributes off. Really consistent, really strong. Yeah. Next card is the one Miriam. I would play her at 2, but she is a hard once per turn effect of the search ability on destruction. So if you see 2 of her, absolutely useless. The last monster is Ignis Heat. There's only 6 monsters in this deck. Ignis Heat allows you to find all your spell cards. So must play, because going into Heritage or whatever to get the extra draws or disciples to recycle, absolutely amazing. So as I said, there's only 6 monsters to this build. So here's the rest of the true Draco lineup. So 3 Heritage, 3 Disciples, 3 Apocalypse. I do apologise if there's glare in this video as well, and also the horrible quality. It's on my phone. The last true Draco card is True King's Return. Basically all self-explanatory. You need numbers, because the extra tribute summons that all these cards provide during yours and your opponent's turn is extremely vital. And lastly, for the true Draco lineup, 3 Diagram, and obviously followed by Terraforming. I will say here though that this deck will potentially lose to Drill and Lockbird. It is a really strong card, so what we're doing here is turboing into it, and this is one of the cards. 3-carded Demise, and while we're playing 3-carded Demise, there's no point not playing Into the Void. Into the Void is basically a free upstart. You can activate this if it's added off-carded Demise, because when you activate it, you did have 3 cards in hand, so it is a free draw. And why not? Because at the end phase, you're going to discard your whole hand anyway, so might as well dig that little bit deeper and hopefully you get there. 2 Pots of Duality. I wouldn't play 3 Pots of Duality, because seeing more than 1 is really dodgy. You won't get anywhere if you see more than 1. Well, you will, but you won't be able to activate it, because it is a hard once per turn. So then there's 2 Desires. I haven't come into a game yet where I've banished both of my Metatrons or majority of my monster engine off this card, so I'm not too worried about running 2. Running 3 would just be overkill. 2's more than enough. Like, you want to see it, but you don't want to see it as well. So So yeah, for the last of the draw engine, it's 1 Upstart Goblin, 1 Day of Peace, and 1 Balance of Judgment. The other 2 are self-explanatory, but Balance of Judgment, if you make your Metatron and you've been drolled or whatnot, if you have just a Metatron on board with possibly a diagram and nothing else, and you set Balance of Judgment, as soon as your opponent starts establishing a big field, you can get the draws off it. So a Metatron, diagram, and Balance of Judgment is 3 cards on your side of the field, because you won't have a hand thanks to Demise. So as soon as your opponent starts establishing a board of 4 or more, you can get free draws off it, which will establish you for next turn, and it'll give you a bit of a hand. For the last couple cards, 1 Monarch Stormforth, because why not? It's a really broken card, you can get past anything with it. 1 Skill Drain, because if you make it into a Metatron and a Skill Drain on the back row, your opponent will struggle to get past them both. But usually they can either get past your Skill Drain and then they're stuck on the Metatron, or they'll be able to kaiju off your Metatron but can't get past the Skill Drain. These last 3 cards are up for change, but for now I'm playing And the Band Played On at 2. Basically I don't like the Magician Pendulum matchup. I don't want them to get into Utopia Lightning because Metatron's effect won't go off of special summoning due to the Armades effect that Lightning has. So yeah, And the Band Played On is a big one. I would change And the Band Played On and this last card to Prohibition, and I'll run 3 of it. That way I can stop the Droll and Lockbird, I can stop the Lightnings from happening, and I can also lock my opponent out from running Kaijus or Field Destruction or Removal, like Eater of Millions as well. I'll just Prohibition that, so they won't be able to use it. And the last card is Lose 1 Turn. So, as I said, this would come out for Prohibition, but it doesn't need to. It is a strong card, so it doesn't matter. Now, this is where the spice of the deck gets really fun. So, first card in the extra deck is Invoked Radjid. So, here's an interruption play. So you just start Book of Mooning their monsters for fun and just annoy the hell out of your opponent. The next one is Invoked Purgatory. He gains 200 attack for each card your opponent controls, and then he also does piercing damage to defense position monsters. So really good and extremely strong. Next one is Totally Awesome, because I thought why not? It's a free negate, and here's a 2/2 beat stick, which isn't that strong, but it's a free negate either way, so it doesn't matter. Next XYZ is Babushka. I find this actually quite entertaining because they get ready of Metatron during the battle phase. You special summon Babushka and you summon him in defense mode. It turns all their monsters to defense mode and it ends their turn. Well, quite literally basically just ends their turn because they lose all their monster effects and they can't attack no more. Fair enough, when it comes to your turn, he will get destroyed because you can't detach off him, but he's kept you alive for that one turn that you needed. The next card is the Sea Castrum. Absolutely brutal. When I actually read this card's effect, I was pleasantly joyed at it because in either player's turn, you can banish one card from your opponent's extra deck face down, and the card you banish, he gains attack equal to that card's attack, and it's during either player's turn, so you can summon him in your opponent's turn, banish something, your turn, banish something, and he gains the attack of both and it adds it together, so extremely strong. But all these XYZs, to note, do have a detach effect. but you'll never use it because you can't. They'll never have anything under them. For the first synchro I play, Dargusto Spheres. Can't be destroyed by battle. Absolutely funny. And any battle damage that you would have taken gets directed at your opponent. So you just summon in attack mode and attack their monsters. And absolutely laugh because they're taking all the damage you should have taken. And potentially it can win you games because of that. High Speed Shambora, just to push for games. The double attack effect, absolutely amazing. And it also gains attack, so why not? One Naturia Beast, and obviously Naturia Barkion. Depending on what you're versing at the time, you can go into either of these to give you that little bit of advantage to slow your opponent down. So it's worth running them. It doesn't really matter. You'll probably never go into them. But yeah, they're there just in case. The next card is Clearwing Synchro Dragon. Just if your opponent wants to target stuff, you can return it. So you don't need it, but it's just there because... One Stardust Dragon, same thing. You don't need it, but it's there. One Crimson Blader. This is actually in here for a purpose. The mirror match with True Dracos. If they can get rid of your Metaltron, which you can just leave your Metaltron unaffected by monsters, they'll pop him off with Masterpiece. Or unaffected by trap cards, they'll pop him off with a trap card. You bring out Crimson Blader and attack over their monster, and it locks them out of gameplay. So, win-win. These last three cards, absolutely amazing for an extra boss monster that you can just drop on board after Metaltron leaves. Crystal Wing, we all know what he does. He's brutal at the best of times. Super Heavy Samurai Steam Train King. A lot of people don't realise that this card is really, really strong, especially in a turbo build like this. Basically, he can attack in defense mode. He's 4800 defense, so he's hard for your opponent to beat over. And during your turn, you can banish all spell and trap cards from both players' graveyard and inflict 200 damage per spell and trap card banished. So if you've turboed through your deck, you're going to have a lot of spell and traps in your graveyard, and you can potentially burn them for game thanks to this card. And if you can't burn them for game, you can usually attack for the last of their life points. So it's really strong. The last card, I only just recently found this, is Majestic Star Dragon. A 3800 beat stick, so overly powerful on the scale. And when your opponent activates an effect, you can tribute Majestic Star Dragon and destroy all cards on their side of the field. So not only does it give you a beat stick to hold off, when they try and get past him with card effects, you nuke their field, so they can't do anything because they've used all their resources. The other effect that he does have though, if you don't want to use that, because it does come like in clutch, but you don't have to use it. The next effect is, when your opponent activates a card effect, you can target it with Majestic Stardust Dragon. Like you activate Majestic Stardust, target their monster and negate the effect. So you can hold off and you still keep your 3800 beat stick. So overall, this deck is extremely, extremely strong. Haven't had problems with it. I'd like to take it to a big tournament sometime soon, but I don't have time. And if anything, you have problems with this build, you could use this build and to a turbo into Turbo Masterpiece and just have a whole lot of advantage on back row and also have interrupting plays. I'm an old Clifford Turbo Tower player, so when Metaltron came out, I was absolutely astounded and I had to have him and build a deck around him. So yeah, I hope you all like it. Leave a thumbs up if you like it, and I'll hopefully bring you another profile sometime soon.